Okay, it looks like we had a major crash burnout right there. I warned you it's going to be a very bumpy landing. Give me a second here, folks. I need to start up again, refire the booster rockets. Okay, so stay there. Jeepers, man, it just never stops, does it? Okay, I'm just gonna make a note of that. Get to the maps later. The next eclipse. All right. Whew. Wow. That was really tricky. So, some of you already know about the retrogrades happening right now. Up soon, coming up very soon, we have Mercury retrograde. We already have a Venus retrograde. We have Jupiter retrograde. We have Saturn retrograde right now. And we have Pluto retrograde right now. And any minute, just after the next eclipse, we're going to have Neptune retrograde. Okay, to me this is freakish. This is astrological. This is an astrological freak show. I know these little squiggles might not mean anything to you, but for me here at Lumination Space Module, this stuff is the language that we use. This is Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, and Neptune. Like I just said, we already have Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto that are retrograde right now. So that's triggering a tremendous amount of navel gazing and self-examination in pretty much every aspect of life, where everybody is pointing fingers at everybody else for everything and anything that can go wrong in your life, and everything that goes wrong in their life, they're pointing fingers at you, because nobody wants to deal with this stuff, and it's just going to get heavier. Okay, so in a few days, Mercury's going to go retrograde. A lot of you know what that can indicate already. There can be a lot of, let's say, confusion in communications. And then Neptune is going to go retrograde in Pisces, increasing the possibility for what I consider to be the collective insanity of humanity. Okay, does that mean anything to anybody? Yeah. Thank you, Nikki. That's a very good idea. Run, duck, and cover. Mind your own business. If Path Traveler's here, she would have said, hey, everybody, stay in your own lane. Mind your own business. Now, this is an astrological anomaly. It's kind of a freak show. It's very, very rare that we get something like this. So what it means is like as an amateur astrologer, if you could actually see all these planets at the same time, you would look up there and it would look like they're all going in the reverse direction to their normal orbit. They're actually not, of course, going in the reverse direction. It just looks that way because the planet Earth is spinning around the sun, and then so we spin around ourselves, and so it just gets very confusing out there. But to the observer here on planet Earth, it looks like for short periods of time these planets come to a point of normally that we on a Western chart we make the planets look as though they go round in a circle like this, just whizzing around, orbiting the sun, which is what they all do. But at certain times it makes it look like, oh, wait a minute, it's going backwards. Oh no, what happened? And then it stations again, and then it goes forward. And typically in these periods when it appears as though the planets appear to be moving backwards, of course they're not, it forces everybody to reconsider everything associated with that planet in their chart. So every one of you has a Venus sector, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, and a Neptune and a Mercury sector somewhere in your chart. Okay, it could be anywhere. This is just a little doodle I made for notes earlier. But, you know, if you're Cancer rising, it would look like this. I'm just focusing on one aspect right now. And, you know, the Geminis, it would look like this. The Tauruses, it would look like this. The Aries, it would look like this. The Pisces, it would look like this. The Aquarians, like so. The Capricorns, like so. The Sagittarians, like so. The Scorpios, like so. The Libras, like so. The Virgos, like so. The Leos and the Cancers again. Okay, so that's really kind of elementary Western astrology in a nutshell. So let me go back. I'll come back to this thing in a minute. It's just one of the notes I've got here for later on. What I wanted to do is kind of go through a few things that have been, let's say, coming to my attention. Actually, let me flip this over because we're talking about the whole world right now. So, here's one freakish thing. We did a show about it a few weeks ago about Donald Trump and his birthday. It is an absolutely freakish connection between Donald Trump and the United States, okay? America, America, America. I pulled out some charts earlier. Actually, let me just do some quick referrals. You know, it's just, I'm just going to do this really quickly. There's a few things that just jumped out at me. Okay, this is a chart of the birth chart of the United States of America. Okay, it's a generally accepted, most popular interpretation of the United States of America. Okay, as though America is a person. If you think of America as an individual, as an entity, as a living, breathing thing, and it was birthed on the 4th of July, 1776, because we created this thing that we have, the Constitution, which is kind of like the seed of America. So it looks like this, and I just want to point out a couple things, and I'll get back to the notes. Do you see this axis here, this big red axis? America was born with this axis. It's a very harsh opposition between Pluto in Capricorn at 27 degrees and Mercury in Cancer at about 26 degrees. So it's a very pure opposition. America is born with Mercury in Cancer, okay? It's very much about the business of America, the creative ambitions of America, especially with home. Everything revolves around the nuclear family structure in America, the business of home. Like our whole economy is built on things like consumption and production for refrigerators, toasters, microwaves, cars, houses, patios, lawnmowers, washing machines, everything to do with the business of owning and setting up a home. And the sun lives right there, and Jupiter lives right there. So it's all about like endless, boundless opportunity and creativity in developing better and better standards of living. And at the same time, it's in deep opposition to Pluto and Capricorn. So what we end up with is a massive, perpetual cycle of creative destruction. Creative destruction. So you look at things like a washing machine. There was a time when washing machines were just buckets with scrapers, okay, and homemade soap. And so when they invented the modern washing machine, that destroyed the business of the old washing machines. Okay. Another thing. Here's an example. Think about Blockbuster videos. Does anybody remember Blockbuster Video? Okay, years ago, Blockbuster Video had franchises all over the United States, so everybody could stay home and watch movies on their big screen TVs. And then Netflix came along and destroyed all of that, okay? So it's an expansion of the creativity the perpetual expansion and creativity of the United States in its business over here, always facing the next convulsion of destruction to destroy the latest business model. So that's kind of how it works in America. We are constantly evolving and changing and shifting and growing through the process of creative destruction. In other words, what new amazing thing are we going to create in the United States to improve our standards of living and having a good life? And what are we going to have to destroy to make that happen? So that's normal everyday stuff for America. And it's happening right now. This axis here is extremely heavily accented right now. Mercury is in the planets right now, transiting right here, Mercury in Cancer, okay? It's retrograde. So America is having a huge amount of issues trying to figure out what's it going to do with its money, its day-to-day business, the business of America, the economy of America. What are we going to do to recreate, reinvent America? How are we going to evolve? And what is going to be destroyed in the process of our evolution? Because it will be destroyed. And we're heading there right now. Now, Pluto is today at around 24 degrees. So in a few years, we're going to be maxed out on this axis, okay? This is going to come around again a few cycles from now. So I just wanted to point that out. This axis is being very heavily emphasized right now in the heavens. And guess what? We've got an eclipse coming up on the 21st, all right? That's the new moon Cancer eclipse. It's going to sit right here. It's going to sit right here. So you know what that means. Basically, new starts and new beginnings, a whole new world outlook that America is going to have to take upon itself in order to figure out what to do. What on earth is America going to do next, okay? Because what we do in America affects the rest of the world, especially when it comes to currencies and money, okay? So you've probably noticed that in some of my other shows and some of that little stuff that I wrote about in my book, of course. The world famous Wealth, Money, Finance book by Terra Illumination, and it's all about global restructuring. And my emphasis is on the global financial systems. And so guess what? As you all know, if you've watched this channel before, the whole of the world's financial system is being brought into examination. Massive upheavals are already happening. Okay? Let me get back to that in a minute. I want to go to my notes here. That's the Donald. I'm going to come back to that in a second. I'm going to come back to that in a second. Come back to that. Let me go back to this. These are my notes for today. So, first thing I wanted to mention over here is all the retrogrades. So be prepared, everybody. Please be prepared for a lot of self-examination in your life, in your world. Like, for example, the harsh realities about your life and your world, things that you can't escape. The reality check police are here. Saturn and Pluto working together to put unrelenting pressure on your shoulders to become fully accountable for the reality of your life. In other words, taking full responsibility for everything that's working in your life and everything that's not working in your life. And yes, you can blame this, you can blame the president of Trump, you can blame Russia, you can blame China, but ultimately you have to mind your own business over here. Like Path would say, stay in your own lane. Now, with Jupiter here at the same time, you see this little box here, okay? With Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto all hovering over here in Capricorn, it's putting tremendous pressure on the foundations of the United States of America. In other words, the United States is being brought to its knees regarding its core infrastructure in the way that it has built itself as a nation, as an entity, as a structure, okay? The United States is under intense pressure right now, and the pressure is increasing, and it's going to increase, and especially we're going to feel a calendar moment around June 21st. We're going to have a sun in Cancer and a moon in Cancer sitting right on top of the American birthday, right here. To me, that's not a coincidence. This is a really stark moment in astrological history. In fact, the whole of 2020, in case you hadn't noticed yet, is a stark moment in human history. Okay? So I don't need this right now. Anyway, let me get back to this thing. All I'm doing, hey, so let me just check in, folks. Okay. So, hi. Greetings, everyone. This is Terra Illumination from the TL space module, way, way far out of the surface of the Earth. Terra Illumination is just, I'm trying to live by example. I'm trying to stay in my own lane, mind my own business, take full responsibility for every nuance of my life as much as I can, and let go of anything and everything else that I can't. I have certain ways of living, how I like to live, and so that's kind of what I try to do. I don't really want to get in trouble, so I stay out of trouble. And I sense that there's quite a lot of trouble here in our home, so I am doing as much as I can to stay in my own little bubble here. And sometimes I have to, I have to project, as they say, way out here, because this is my little safety space, okay? Anyway, from here, my perspective, of course, I get a kind of a wide lens. It's like the Hubble telescope. And then, so what does that mean when I come down to Earth? Because I have to come down to Earth again now and again for supplies. I have to go to the grocery store. I got to fill up all the supplies over there, and all the supply, and fresh water, clean out the Terra Illumination toilets, all the showers, all of that stuff. I have to go back to Earth. I can't do a lot of recycling up here. It's quite a cramped situation, as you can see. So eventually I got to come back to Earth and figure out all that stuff. But in the meantime, while here, I make these kind of notes, and I share my observations with you, and I project them back from the module back down to Earth through Google YouTube, and then they send it across the world. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you. So, what I'm noticing is there's this real agglomeration of freakish astrological events. Think of it as sacred geometry. Sometimes you talk about, you see those old-fashioned movies like the safe crackers. Have you heard of those guys, the safe crackers? They're trying to crack the safe of a very old vault in a bank, and there's lots and lots of locks of secret keys, and they keep going click, 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 and eventually things open up. There's an awful lot of this going on right now, and I think of it in terms of evolution. I think of it in terms of evolutionary leaps. We are being forced. The eclipses in general tend to force the process of evolution. Otherwise, we wouldn't bother. There are a lot of things that happen in the process of evolution that we would not bother to do unless we were forced. How many of you really want to do a lot of self-examination when it comes to perhaps, your health, your finances, your philosophy, your home maintenance, your job, your career, your debts, your bank accounts, your kids, your brothers and sisters, everything, your investments, whatever it could be. It's so much nicer when you can outsource that to someone else who tells you that they know better, and you just trust them. But we're in a situation now in this world where people are going to have to start basically becoming more and more accountable to themselves and to humanity. For example, obviously, as you know, all the riots, it started off, we had that eclipse a while back, whenever it was, June 5th. Remember June 5th? I looked at that eclipse. To me, it looks like collective insanity, literally a mark of insanity, hostile, volatile, violent insane self-expression. And so guess what happened? All over the United States, it was like spontaneous combustions, starting off with radical killings, and then turning into protests, and turning into lootings, and then shootings, and then more protests, and then it became global. It exploded over here, I think it was over in Chicago, and then within, days, it became a global phenomenon, because the aspects that I'm talking about here astrologically affect the whole of planet Earth, not just America, but this is where a lot of the activity is happening right now in terms of, let's say, the astrological focus. The United States has so many astrological aspects that are being triggered by the planets right now. It's just freakish. The last time we had anything similar was 1776, when we had a whole Pluto cycle back then. So 250 years ago, we had this, okay, on the 4th of July, 1776. And here we are, 4th of July, 2020 coming up. We're getting this thing is being really heavily triggered, because a lot of America's birth aspects are being triggered from different aspects, including the freakish alignments from Donald Trump. Anyway, we can talk about that another time. It's very bizarre. So let me bring up another little item here. This I know a lot of this might sound like tarot illumination gibberish, but I'm just trying to share it. And if anybody wants to go into depth a bit more about it, you're welcome to contact Tarot Illumination, and we can get very personal. I can take all of this stuff here and crush it into a personal interpretation for you, okay? Because it's so much that's happening right now. I don't see how anybody can handle this on their own. So, I just mentioned this. We've got the eclipse coming up on the 21st, okay? That's only a few days. It's the 17th today, and 18, 19, 20, 21. So we've just got a couple of lunar phases to go through, and then we're going to be over here. Sun in Cancer, Moon in Cancer, lighting up the United States, new starts and new beginnings. And then 2 weeks later, of course, the full moon eclipse over here on the 4th of July. So this is going to be a very, let's say, choppy, weird, bumpy time astrologically for the United States, and by extension, the rest of the world. Because what happens here, obviously, very clearly, has sudden impact all over the world, in one way or another. Okay, let me mention this thing. I already just talked about this. The Cancer-Capricorn axis of the United States, okay? This is heavily emphasized right now, and it's going to be emphasized through the eclipses, okay? The next one over here is the Gemini-Sagittarius axis of the United States. So let me show you that one. That's this axis here, the Sagittarius-Gemini axis. It's a very prominent axis in the United States, okay? Gemini on the 7th house of marriage, open enemies, relationships, fundamental one-on-one relationships, okay? America has Mars in Gemini. It's very volatile, a lot of volatility in relationships in the United States of America, okay? A lot of strange, weird, and bizarre, exciting, adventurous things happen in relationships inside of America. The natural birth tendency of America is to be big and bold and adventurous, and to assume righteous knowledge and fun. Having fun, fun. But how does that work for the individual? As a lot of you know, America and Americans are often considered very kind of big, bold, brash, like a bit over the top in everything that we do. We take a lot of assumptions. We take a lot of things for granted. We have a lot of wisdom and knowledge and brain power associated with our identity. But what are we going to do about that? How are we going to use that effectively at the individual level? How are you as Americans if you're an American, how are you relating to other Americans? Are you doing that in a volatile, nasty, violent way? Are you doing that in an exciting, passionate way? Are you taking advantage of the unique situations that we have in America to have and create amazing experiences in relationship that we can't get anywhere else in the world? What's that like for you? Well, guess what? Remember Donald? His birthday was on the 15th, a couple of days ago. Let me see if I can find his chart. I'm going to use, okay, just pretend. Okay, can you see this? This says Donald. That's the President of America. And he's got a couple of very quirky, interesting aspects that I've already shown to you before, okay? He is born with a Gemini Sagittarius axis and polarity. In fact, Donald has his own North Node in Gemini, okay? He also has a very prominent Capricorn Cancer axis, okay? So guess what? There is a very bizarre, what I consider a marriage between Donald Trump and the United States. In other words, it's not a coincidence that Donald Trump is alive in the United States of America today. And what, from my perspective, what it's doing is it's showing by living example about the most outrageous things that can happen in America and the most amazing things that can happen in America. And it's all happening at the same time. And dear Donald is like this catalyst. There are for every 100 million people who love Donald Trump and think he's God incarnate, there's another 100 million who think he's the devil incarnate and he's come to destroy the planet. So, I'm not taking any sides here. I'm just trying to illustrate that this connection between dear Donald and the United States of America is not a coincidence, okay? This is freakish. Let me just show you Donald's chart so you understand in a bit better detail. If I can find it anywhere. I know I have it. Where is Donald? Anyway, it kind of doesn't matter. I just wanted to illustrate a point. Okay, that's the other Astrodoodle. Okay, anyway, let's forget about that for a moment. I just wanted to illustrate something that I repeated before, and this is not going away. This is a permanent fixture. So long as Donald Trump is alive, Donald Trump has this relationship in terms of astrological synastry with the United States. So look at it this way. Another way you could look at it. Donald Trump has his sun in Gemini. He has his North Node in Gemini. So if he truly believes in his own outrageous magnificence, it's like basically it's like destiny. He was born and destined to be this person in the United States of America, knowing that some people believe he is the most despicable character ever born into human form, and it's happening right now, and it's the marriage of Donald Trump with America. And what Donald Trump is doing with his son is lighting up America's relationship with itself, which is basically forcing through radical upheavals, radical extreme upheavals, including violent self-expression by Americans, which does not surprise me in relationships, that basically bring into a conversation that has been building up for 250 years. And that is the conversation between America and Americans. And take it even further, American with Americans. So as you can tell right now, even if you just take a tiny glimpse at the news over the last 4 months since January 2020, it is very apparent all across the world that America is in an extremely volatile and very eruptive volcanic period in its evolutionary history right now. And none of this is a surprise, as you know, because I wrote about it here years ago, and it's happening today, right now. So if you look anywhere in the news, there's always something about Donald Trump and how despicable he is, and America, and how despicable America is with its treatment of its own people, by its own people. It's out of control. It's violent self-expression. Okay, it's the insanity of the masses expressing itself, and that's basically people who are sick and fed up of the way things are in America right now, and they want change. They want evolution. America is going to evolve whether it likes it or knows it or not. So the question is, what does that evolution look like? So my feeling is this. I'm just going to share my opinions. These are just opinions. Do not quote me. I'm not a politician. I'm not a weather person. I'm not a statistician. I'm not a professional economist. I'm not a professional astrologer. I'm just a person with my own little YouTube channel, and that's what we've got. And I'm just sharing. Hello, Brittany. Yes, it is an amazing time in human history to be alive. Literally. 17th of June 2020, right now. This is epic stuff. So I mentioned a bit about the eclipse here. It's the one coming up on 4th of July. But before that, we have another one over here, June 21st. This is the Cancer Sun, Cancer Moon, new moon eclipse sitting right on top of the birthday mark of America. Okay, new starts and new beginnings. So, by the way, I wanted to mention, the United States is born with a strong Leo-Aquarius axis. The United States North Node is in Leo. Guess what? Donald Trump is born with Mars in Leo. Okay? So he's triggering a lot of volatility in America's evolution. America's South Node is in Aquarius. So the tendency for America to automatically present and carry itself as humanitarian is well known. Everybody knows around the world knows that America has a strong humanitarian streak. Okay, that's our default setting. Okay, however, how is it actually going to work in real life? The way to do it in real life is bring it down into the Leo expression, which means generosity, fun, creativity, and how are we actually going to do that? In other words, it's okay to have these amazing concepts about humanitarianism and theories and academics, and then laws and politicians talking about it over here, and self-appointed social justice police over here and here and here and here, telling us what to do and how to live our lives according to their theories. But what is it like in practice? America is born with the ascendant in Sagittarius and descendant in ascendant in Sagittarius and the descendant in Gemini. So America is born with this natural, amazing sense of optimism. We can overcome anything. We can always win. We will always win. We will always seek the humanitarian approach. But what does that actually look like when we bring it down to earth? So as you can tell, even though we might have wonderful concepts built into our Constitution, the actual manifestation of the truth and the spirit of our Constitution is a whole new level of evolution that is starting to unfold for the next 250-year cycle. It starts on June 21st, okay? June 21st and up to... Oh, I don't have a chart here, but... Okay. Over the I have to make another astrodoodle. Excuse me. Sorry. This is just to sort of emphasize a point. Actually, maybe I can do it from this chart. Where's my little American chart thing? Okay, let's look at it this way. We've got these eclipses coming up, all right? So we got the new moon eclipse over here, and we got the full moon eclipse coming up here on the 4th of July. So this axis is very, very heavily emphasized right now. And in a few years, this point is going to be exact 27 degrees Pluto. So in a couple of years, this is going to be where we're going to be talking about, okay? But right now, in a loose form, we're talking about the beginning of a new 250-year cycle of Pluto in Capricorn. So right now, this year, 2020, is the opening segue, the opening of the curtain to a whole new evolutionary chapter in American history that has been 250 years in the making. Okay, so it's like a rebirth. And in America, for the rebirth to happen in America, that means a total demolition and restructuring of our existing structures, okay? That's why I wrote that book. So, let me go over here. When I add up all of this stuff, I'm looking at the notes, I see there's a lot of pressure on what I call the word evolution, okay? Okay. So, these eclipses, as you know, if you've watched Tarot Illumination videos, I see eclipses as evolutionary gateways, okay? I'm going to come to this in a little bit. I just want to go to the imagery here that I made of what I consider the evolutionary gateways. Let's see if I can find it. Here it is. Let me just pull these out for you. Now these are old notes, but they're still highly relevant. You see this? These are the eclipses of 2020 in the middle of the month. Now we're going to have more eclipses later in the year, but right now this is what we're dealing with. So if you look back, if you just wind back your clock to June the 5th, this was the period in time leading up to the extreme violent revolutions and protests and looting and shootings all across America. Everything escalated and escalated until the June 5th eclipse. That was a full moon eclipse. I look at it as collective insanity, global collective insanity, but most especially in the United States. You just have to watch the news and you know what I'm talking about. So that pushed us up to a new level of awakening and understanding where the whole world is forced to look at itself through its own social media and realize, oh my God, who are we? What are we doing? Who are we as humans? Who are we as Americans? What are we doing to ourselves and each other? It is despicable. It is self-destruction. So now we're forced with another leap, okay? Think of this as time, okay? This is time, right? Get it? June, July. So we are here right now. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. It is the 17th of June right here. We're facing the next eclipse. Bing! New starts, new beginnings right here. We can't go back. We can't undo all of the events and all this history. We can't go back to that one, and we can't go back to the ones earlier in the year. So, this is what's coming up. This is a very important one. This is the June 21st new moon eclipse, okay? We will not be able to see it in the United States, okay? The sun will be in Cancer, and the moon will be in Cancer, okay? So this is a highly significant eclipse for America, and by default, that means it's going to affect the rest of the world. 2 weeks later, we're going to have the 4th of July eclipse. This is going to be a crazy eclipse because if you look at the charts, it's an extremely volatile eclipse. We're going to have Mars in Aries right here in a very hard angle between the Cancer-Capricorn axis. To me, this looks like violent revolution, okay? This is violent. It was violent. I don't see so much violence here, but I see violence here, okay? Especially concerning America itself. But this also affects the whole world, okay? It just happens that the 4th of July is the birth date of the United States. So our natural born aspects are being heavily triggered. So how do I put this all in some kind of way that's comprehensive? How am I going to do this? Okay, so in terms of the global astrology right now, America is being put under a spotlight, a massive, massive spotlight. In fact, multiple spotlights, and especially when you think of the retrogrades, you know, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, and Neptune happening this period, and for most of the rest of the year, these retrogrades, the United States is being forced to re-examine itself in almost every aspect of life. Communications, speaking the truth, you know, like Nikki was saying, fakery. Fake news or true news, okay? What's real, what's not real? Money, Venus, okay? Jupiter, our health, our fortune, okay? Saturn, our police. Pluto, our money. Neptune, our creativity, like with movies and television. What are we going to do with all that stuff? All of this stuff is going to be heavily pressured in the United States. And I think the place where people are going to feel it the most is in their wallets. Things like jobs and money. Because the money axis is so heavily emphasized in the birth chart of America. So right now, as some of you know, America, by default, whether we like it or know it or not, is the default currency for the rest of the world. It doesn't mean that we're amazing. We have a lot of very dirty business that goes on in America that undermines our strength, our sovereignty as a nation, as a country, and our integrity as a country. And there are many reasons why a lot of people, even though they might want what we have in America, they also despise what we have, because we have something in America that no other country has on earth. Number one, we have the Constitution. Nobody has our Constitution in order to, we have the right to protest, peaceful protest, freedom of the press, freedom of speech, the right of due process and law, the rule of law, and the right to bear arms, the right to protect and defend ourselves, and the right to elected members of office, and the right to no taxation without representation. Most countries don't have that. So this is a very volatile environment, and we have created, I don't want to go into all the financial things that I was going to talk about, but everywhere else in the world is affected by what we do in our economy, and nowhere more than China. So right now, across the world, there's a tremendous amount of pressure building up, not just in America, but all over the whole world. Even though America is the epicenter of the astrology, even though America has the most pressure being placed upon it in terms of the astrology, that will have ramifications across the globe. Everywhere is going to be affected. So guess what? Now, again, this is a tarot illumination perspective. I'm just going to share with you. Okay. Steady yourselves. As far as I'm concerned, good fences make good neighbors. It's just an observation. It's just an experience. Some people don't like fences. Some people like to reserve the right to bulldoze other people's lives and trespass on other people's lives and worlds and territories. When people trespass on other people's lives and worlds and territories and assets and resources, that usually does not go down very well. So that can trigger a hostile response. So you end up with war. War is a common human condition. It's been going on since, the human species existed. I don't see it going away anytime soon, but it's just a question of how do we conduct war now. My personal view is a lot of war is going to be conducted through the financial and global markets, okay? Trade, the trade markets across the world, and how we protect ourselves in each country with our assets and our resources and our finances, okay? And it's a very, very tenuous thing right now, because the whole concept of what's called fiat currencies, which is the floating concept of money, is now in jeopardy, like it has never ever been before. 250 years ago, they didn't really have fiat currencies, pretend money, which is what we have now. Fiat means made up. We make it up. Money is what we believe it to be. And so long as everybody comes under agreement, then we can trade, okay? But everything is being questioned now. So some countries are already starting to create their own cryptocurrencies as a way to circumvent the exceptional position that we have in America from being the financial epicenter of the world. 88% of global commodity trades go through the US dollar. That's a problem for some people. It's great for America, but it's actually a problem for some people. Anyway, hold on. Thank you, Nikki. I put a lot of work in that spaceship. It was all built by hand from leftover parts from Detroit, like in the, I think it was in the 90s, when the auto industry collapsed. I went around to a lot of scrap yards and I pulled out bits and pieces and I made my own space module. So here we are today. Yeah. So right now, I try to only look at the smallest amount of news possible for me to get through the day. I like to check the weather, for example. I have friends in different places around the world, so I check the weather in New Zealand, Australia, sometimes India, sometimes Africa, Europe, America, South America. I'm curious about the weather. It's always shifting and changing, and of course the climate and the environment and all of that. But if you've noticed, there's a lot of maneuvering going on where, because of the massive disruptions that are happening in the global economy because of the virus that started over here, what's happening is everybody is being forced to restructure themselves, how they conduct their lives and their businesses. Okay? So have a look at this just for a broad outline. Over here in China, there's about 1.4 billion people. Okay? Half of this land is habitable. This is just raw desert mostly. Over here in India, okay, have a look. There's China, right? Okay, there's China, 1.4 billion. Over here, there's India, 1.2 billion. Okay? Over here, Africa, about 1 billion. Okay? And over here, little tiny America, we only have 360 million, 370 million. So we are vastly outnumbered in terms of population, but we're very lucky because of how we work and manage our time and resources that we've created a lot of what we consider wealth and abundance. And a lot of other countries are starting to enjoy that now, especially China and India. Also South America too. But here's the problem. Here's one of the problems that I see, is that China is very basically starving right now for resources. They have 5 times the population of America. Where are they going to keep getting the water, the timber, the concrete, the oil, the gas, the fuel, the food that they need to keep going? So they actually import a lot of things, okay? And they also export a lot of manufacturing. What's happening today, right now, in the global economy, there's a lot of rumbling going on, which some people are calling, this is the beginning of World War III. This is the shuffling and rumbling around of the whole of planet Earth, starting over here, but it's having shockwaves all over the planet. So what's happening from my perspective is that there's a lot of Gemini North Node energy happening. Okay, everybody on the planet Earth is being affected by the Gemini North Node. So, 6 months ago, everybody was traveling all over the world who could afford to do it, especially America and Western Europe and China, just gorging on travel. That is now stopped. The Gemini North Node is basically saying, stay at home, mind your own business, take care of things in your own way, in your own neighborhood, in your own block, on your own street, with your own people, with your own kind, and do it in a way that's efficient, simple, quick, and responsible. Okay? So the way that translates globally is like, oh my God, tourism and hospitality have collapsed, okay? All of this is triggered by the virus, by the way. So, and China is feeling the aftershocks as well, because America, South America, and Europe, and Africa and India are just not buying as much stuff from China. So China's economy is contracting. They are scared. China is trying to protect itself. But China is also simultaneously trying to take advantage of all the chaos and the upheaval all over the rest of the world, so that China can take the opportunity to impose its global mission to expand everywhere on Earth and basically create a totalitarian Earth. That is China's dream, and they're going to do everything they can to make it happen. And there's a lot of it happening right now over here on the borders between China and India. Okay? That's what they're doing. It's already a war. People are already being killed and dying. Okay? China is trying to do everything it can to control the oceans and the ports and the seas all over here. The United States has massive military operations here and here, here, and all over here and here and here. And the whole idea is to protect and defend American interests. Over here in Japan, they have a democracy. All of these places here are democracies. This place is a totalitarian communist dictatorship. This is a democracy. So basically, everything outside this purple space here is threatened by this purple space. And so there's a lot of very volatile, warlike behavior happening in this part of the world right now, as China is starting to flex its muscles and its wealth and its power to try and assert control and dominance across the rest of the world. They're trying to build trade routes all through here, through the process of hegemony. Okay? So anyway, this is just exactly what you would expect given the global astrology right now, okay? So what I'm sensing over here is that there's a very, very strong emphasis on, hey, everybody, mind your own business. Think of the Gemini North Node. Be extremely careful of exactly what are you saying, how are you saying it, where are you saying it, when are you saying it, who are you saying it to, and why are you saying it? Who, what, when, why, where, how, okay? The 6 elements, okay? Be extremely aware, like, you can say things, just one tiny thing. You can take one little video of some guy getting beat up and killed, and then it turns into a global revolution. Imagine the girl who took the video of that guy, George Floyd, being, essentially killed. Think of the implications. One tiny video changed the whole world, okay? And that's just one tiny, tiny incident of the global restructuring that's happening right now. On the bigger scale, okay, so we have a lot of this going on right now. On the bigger scale, the way I see it personally is that the big wars are going to occur in the trade wars, especially between America and China, okay? Because basically America, all of these places are more or less democracies, even though there's a lot of corruption here and here and here, a lot of corruption here. All of these places that are not China, they depend on America to protect and defend their trade routes and their economies, okay? It's not always fun or friendly, but we have reached a certain status quo where the United States is seen as the stabilizing factor for the rest of the world, okay? Right now, for example, little Germany is terrified and convulsing because the United States is withdrawing 5,000 troops from Germany, okay? Guess who's next door? Russia, okay? So anyway, I believe good fences make good neighbors. As Americans more and more have been forced to stay home, same with other countries.
Almost every other country is being forced to stay at home. And we're discovering a lot about what it's like to stay at home together. And we can't escape it anymore. We have to figure out ways to get along better. The Chinese are having a lot of problems right now with Hong Kong, okay? There are people in Hong Kong who for the last 20 years have enjoyed more or less a democracy by agreement. But that agreement is now more or less run out. So China is now going to war over here through extreme hostile revolutions because China wants to take over Hong Kong and turn it into a communist dictatorship. So, to me, so if you look at it this way, this is an extremely volatile area of the world, and it's going to get more volatile over the next few years, okay? It's going to increase because it's inevitable. There's no way out of it. Some people think this might be the trigger of World War III. I personally think that the real battles are going to occur in the currency worlds between China and the United States, especially regarding their currencies. The big war from my perspective is currency wars between America and China, and then everyone else gets stuck in the middle of the war. China is already developing its own cryptocurrency in order to circumvent the United States dollar. Canada has just put out an order to look for somebody, hey, for the Central Bank of Canada, they're trying to hire somebody who will build a cryptocurrency for themselves to protect themselves from the hegemony coming out of China. Other countries and Facebook are already trying to develop their own cryptocurrencies. There are several countries in Europe where cryptocurrencies are already very active. I believe over here in the Ukraine, cryptocurrencies are, or is it Belarus? They're being developed to be the way to go. And here's another thing. Look at this. Again, please don't quote me. I'm not an expert on any of this stuff. But from the homework that I have done, here's what I found out. American Express Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal, actually not really American. You see these guys? These are international global payment processing systems. Everybody has heard of this. Pretty much everybody in the United States has a Visa card or a MasterCard if you're probably aged about 18 years or older. And they're all over Europe, they're all over Central and South America, they're all over here. They have their own systems over here. But look what's happening. Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal, they are already factoring ways to include Bitcoin inside their platforms. Okay? To me, that's freakish, but it's an indication that if these guys are taking it that seriously, that they're willing to integrate Bitcoin as a currency into Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal, just as though this is a bank, what does that tell you? It tells you that inevitably we are going to complete financial restructuring across the whole planet. And it's starting now. It's already happening. Okay, lastly, I want to deal with this little thing here. Okay? Let me see if I can do this without getting too confused. Hello. Hello, Stargirl. Well, hi, Stargirl. I'm not sure about that. You're talking about a global one world currency. There are certain people who would love to have a one world currency. Guess what? China.
excuse me, China. China is looking to have a one world currency. Why? Because then they can control everything. China is already building a cryptocurrency into its central bank. The Central Bank of China, okay, the People's Republic of China, they're already building a centralized currency. In other words, everybody who uses money in China, instead of having local commercial retail banks on the corners or like we do, everything's going to go through their central bank. Now, isn't that just handy for the Chinese government? Because that means they can track anything and anyone through their financial behavior. To me, that's a terrifying concept. It's already happening in America to some degree. Everybody in America knows that the federal government and the state and local government can access your finances if they want to. We already know about so-called credit reports and credit history and credit scores, okay? They track all your financial transactions. And we accept that in exchange for the convenience of having electronic money in a little piece of plastic. Well, guess what? It's going to the next level. Eventually, there will be digital cryptocurrencies, and they're going to go all over the world. But nobody knows where this leads, because humanity has never been at this point before. So it is going to be like a war. Right now, the United States is in the premium position. It is in the pole position in terms of basically the measuring stick for all other currencies. They're factored against the US dollar. China does not like that. A lot of other countries don't like it because it means they have to adjust their behavior according to America's behavior. All Sun is going to create a new currency called chocolate. Okay. So, yeah. The problem with a global currency, if it's done through what they call the blockchain system, where it's immunized from the federal government and retail banks, and you literally own your own money, and nobody can devalue your money. The original concept of cryptocurrencies was to protect your money, protect your privacy, protect yourself. And money is like water today for humanity. You can't function without water. We need air, we need water, and we need shelter, we need food, and we need money. Everybody does to some extent, okay? And so that's what's happening right now. And the problem is with Bitcoin and most of the other cryptocurrencies that are alive right now is that they are mostly like experiments, like societal experiments. And there's billions, trillions of dollars at stake already. But what's happening is that people are trying to learn and understand, what does this mean? What does this mean when humanity creates a form of money that cannot be debased or devalued by a federal institution? Okay, it's beautiful. Like, I cannot control the value of my money. The Federal Reserve controls the value of my money. I can have paper dollars. I can have my Visa card, MasterCard, and all sorts of debit cards or whatever. But the value of the money in that is affected by the federal government's behavior. The more and more and more they print money, the less and less value my money has. That's inflation, okay? Anyway, so it's like a race. There's like this big race, and you could call this race a war. It's a currency war, because whoever creates the first acceptable digital cryptocurrency that works worldwide, they will take dominance. Is that going to be the United States? Is it going to be China? Is it going to be some genius from Japan? Is it going to be somebody from Australia? Who knows? America is very, very aware of all this. One of the problems that America has about trying to create its own cryptocurrencies or digital currencies is that it means they will not be able to control the value of your money or anyone else's money across the earth. And Americans will probably be very unlikely to want to accept
a single federal bank where everybody in America has to do their banking. It's not going to happen. They can do that in China because the Chinese government can just say, that's what we're going to do. If you don't do it, you're going to disappear. Poof. So it's going to be weird. It's going to be interesting. I don't know what's going to happen. Okay? Stargirl. Stargirl. Hey, Stargirl, are you Stargirl the Practical Witch, or are you Stargirl? I've heard of Stargirl the Practical Witch. I know, I've seen you. Are you Stargirl the Practical Witch? Anyway, I just thought I would ask. So, Facebook is creating its own money. Yeah. Oh, Taylor Swift is here. Hi, Taylor. Yay. Thank you very much. Hi, Taylor. I know, it's weird, isn't it? I mean, I wrote that book years ago. It's weird. I'll show you. I always keep a copy with me in my cockpit. There it is. Thank you, Taylor. Yeah. It's true. It's true. It's very strange what's happening. Now, here's what's on offer. As you can tell, Terra Illumination is still alive. I still have a channel. I still have a website. We still do Sunday Night Live Super Chats. Okay? I still do personal readings now and again if anybody wants one. So, if all of this sounds like kind of gibberish and nonsense, and you would like to have a bit more clarity on how this affects you in your life, in your world, you can always check the links below and get a reading with Terra Illumination. It'll be just like this. We'll just be hanging out together. Yeah. So, okay, Sarah, I'll see you another time. Maybe see you Sunday night. Sunday Night Live is when we do the readings, okay? Those are the paid Super Chat readings. $10 a pop, you get a little reading. It's fun, okay? Let me go back to something. I want to share one last thing with you guys. How am I going to do this? I got so many bits of paper. Ugh, I need more clipboards. That's what I need. More and more and more clipboards. I'm going to do this. And what I'll do is I'll sort out my clipboards after the show, and I'll make them all tidy again. So, let me put this under here. I'm going to pad this up. I'll put this over here. Okay, so bear with me. So I'm just going to make a little astrodoodle for today. See if I can start over here. Now, give me a second. Okay, today's the 17th. 2020. And some of you may have noticed that in some ways it's actually fairly calm right now, given all the insanity and chaos and the violence at the full moon, on June the 5th, around that time. And now that we're coming towards the end of a lunar cycle, we're heading into the new moon eclipse on June 21st. But for today, right now, let me do this. So this is your typical Terra Illumination astrodoodle. And this is like a universal chart for everybody, okay? So bear with me. I'll put the names in so it makes it easier to understand, okay? Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. Okay, so right now, the planets are whizzing around doing their stuff. I'm just going to sort of mark things out. We've got Saturn, Jupiter and Pluto all over here. I think I'll do it like this, okay? Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto over here. We got Mars and Neptune over here. I'm not going to worry about Chiron right now. I've got Uranus and the Moon over here in Taurus. And we've got Venus and the Sun in the North Node, okay? And the North Node over here in Gemini. We got Mercury in Cancer over here. All right, now I'm going to add a little bit of color. This is where things get really exciting. Now calm down. I know how you love this stuff. This is the fun, sweet stuff. I'm going to put some green in here just to tell you that it's not the end of the world yet. I'm going to put green in, which I don't often do, because I like to look at the problems. So that's where we find out the hazards, and then we can find ways to work through and around the hazards so that we are not living at the mercy of the hazards. We take all the trines and the sextiles for granted, and so do I. Okay, so there's some really sweet stuff going on here. It's very temporary, okay? And there's a little sextile. There's a very challenging spot here. Okay, got a little bit of sweetness over here. A little bit of sweetness over here. Okay, a little bit of sweetness over here. Okay, so that's very nice and pretty. Thank you very, very much. However, this is where things get a little awkward. We still have some serious challenges between the Pisces Gemini energy. That's, back on, when was it? June the 5th, when we had that full moon, okay, eclipse. That's when everything, I'm not going to mark this chart, but that's when we had the full expression of the collective global insanity, violence, looting and shooting, Mars conjunct Neptune, literally the whole planet blowing its fuses in how it communicates itself violently. But here is the quirky thing that's happening right now. I'm going to put that in orange. I think I showed this to you the other day. This one here. This is a quincunx. And to me, when I look at the charts, this is the very dominant thing at this very moment in time. This aspect here. I hope I got the language right. Anyway, it's a very awkward kind of energy, and it's sitting on top of the whole of planet Earth right now. And the way I look at it is this. Okay, so just bear with me, okay? This is just my opinion, okay? These are just my personal opinions, okay? So, all right. So this is what's sticking out at me. This is a really awkward, very kind of difficult to pin down aspect. I don't really talk about them much. If you're a really high-end professional astrologer, you could do so many things with this stuff here. But for today, right now, this is really like jumping out. It's been with us for weeks. It's going to be with us for a little bit longer too, okay? Because of the North Node over here in Gemini. So the way I look at it, this is the energy of integration. This is the energy of everybody on Earth is being called into the principal's office, okay? Everybody. It's basically like, imagine, okay? I'm going to switch over a second. Just imagine some kind of, like a dramatic law show or a school show or some kind of drama thing where there's your usual everyday chaos and disruptions in the school, in the office, in Washington, in the president's office, in the prime minister's office, in the banks. Everyone is going off doing their thing. there's always a certain amount of background hum going on, which is all the nasty, unacceptable, creepy stuff that just goes on every day. Like bad behavior from this person, bad behavior from that institution, bad behavior from them, bad behavior all over the place. And suddenly, over the last few months and for the next few months, we get to the point where, let's say, the principal, okay, let's call that God or heaven, or what I think of as the planets, because to me they are like gods. In the old days, in Egyptian times and Roman times and prehistoric times, the planets were regarded as gods because they just do what they do. They are what they are, and they have their impact and their interpretations and understandings on Earth. And people tended to worship the gods. Like, we can't stop the sun doing what it does. We can't stop Pluto, so we have to accommodate the gods. So the way I look at it right now, the gods are calling us out. They're saying, ahem, ahem, excuse me, planet Earth, what exactly do you think you're doing? You know? This has to stop, okay? Everybody, the gods are going to show you exactly what happens when you take things too far with your behavior. Or more importantly, your misbehavior. For example, if you continue to believe that you can populate the earth to infinity and create 7.5 billion or 11 or 12 or 13 billion, and you can just do it because you can, watch what happens. Watch what it's like to swim in your own poop. Okay? Watch what it's like to live in a world where everything and everyone is contaminated simultaneously. Here is an example. Watch this. One little bug coming out of a market in China has now infected the whole planet. How do you like that? Okay? This is what you're doing to yourselves and each other. And this is just the beginning. Okay? So, the way I look at it, the gods are putting humanity on alert. Everybody, okay, it's time for the nonsense to stop. The way you abuse each other, physically, sexually, racially, financially, okay, agriculturally, minerally, with fuel and air, all of that stuff that you're doing, that's abuse of power, okay? Pluto in Capricorn trying to exert power, and then Saturn, the reality check police showing, oh, actually we can't really do that. So the people to whom we are supposed to be accountable, like our governments, those so-called authorities are now being held accountable to the gods. Okay? No one is affected, no one is unaffected, no one is immunized. You know, the President of America is being called out. Okay? The President of China, the President of every other country that is stumbling and crashing is being called out. Every person in every country is being called out. What are you doing on your street, in your block, in your neighborhood? Are you taking care of business? Are you looking after yourself? Are you protecting yourself? Are you maintaining good fences, good boundaries between yourself and your neighbors and your loved ones and your enemies? Are you prepared to protect and defend yourself? Are you interested in the concept of full responsibility for your behavior? I mean, I could just go blah, 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 blah for ages. But that's what the quincunx is doing. It's basically forcing humanity to integrate and figure out everything that we're doing wrong, how and why and where and when and with who are we doing it wrong. Because I think a lot of people on Earth we're starting to feel like we can't go on the way we are going. You just have to look at population growth charts. You look at weather charts. You look at climate charts. You look at economic charts. You look at healthcare charts, population growth charts, all of that stuff. We've reached a point where humanity has like filled itself up to capacity, and we are now being crushed like rats in a cage. We are being forced to look at each other. Americans are facing off with Americans. America is like a pressure cooker right now. It's like a tinderbox ready to explode. It's already shown the first sparks of explosive behavior of American versus American. That's happening all over the world. It isn't just America, but it's especially so in America. And so the quincunx is a very awkward, very uncomfortable aspect. Nobody likes them, nobody wants them, because it's like everybody is being called into the principal's office. The principals, the gods, the planets are basically saying, enough is enough. We're going to shut down the whole school, and the principals are going to present to everybody on earth exactly what you're doing wrong, how you're doing it wrong, why, where, when, and with who. Okay? You have to reveal it to heal it. So right now, humanity is being called out on itself by the gods. I mean, I might sound like I'm insane to some people, but from my perspective, this makes total sense, and I'm just sharing my opinions. Humanity is being called out. The quincunx is putting tremendous pressure for us to answer to ourselves and to each other, and to hold ourselves, number one, as accountable, take full responsibility for our own behavior, our own actions, and then put yourself in that position of self-love, and then mind your own business. Literally, take care of do everything that you can to protect and defend yourself the way you should, and hold everybody else accountable. Anything that is not acceptable, there are a lot of people who are making a decision, we're just going to call it out. Those are the revolutionaries. Those are the people who are sparking protests. They're like, basically, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of it, okay? Okay? Anyway, that's my rant. It's not a rant. It's just, I'm just sharing my opinions. The quincunx is the thing that I want to leave with people at the end of this show. Okay? Let me go back. I'll show you. I want to leave everybody with this, because this is what's happening today right now. This thing here is basically a very uncomfortable aspect where there's nowhere to hide. For anybody on earth, everybody is being called out. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. We've got 4, 5, 6 retrogrades happening all at the same time. We've got the eclipses happening. This is a tremendous amount of pressure. It's happening especially to America, but it's happening to the rest of the world too, and it's happening to every single individual on earth. So where do these aspects lie in your chart, people? Where is the Gemini 1 degree mark? Sorry, where is the Gemini 29 degree mark in your chart? Where is the Capricorn 24 degree part in your chart? Okay? Where is the Pisces part in your chart? Okay? Where is the Cancer new moon happening in your chart? It could be anywhere. Okay? All I'm suggesting is that this is what's happening, but how does this work for you, the individual? Okay, I've had my say. I've done enough for today. Okay? Hi. All right, so I'm just going to hang out for a few moments, check out the chat. Brittany Sanderson, hello, I hear you, but the charts are there for fear. Humanity is not so bad. Birth is amazing. It's God's weapon. I wonder who will be born next. I don't know. I really don't know. Okay, Brittany, I'm painting fearful images here, Brittany. The actual energies are completely neutral. I look at the planets as just planets. They do what they do. It's how do we respond? There's nothing evil about the planets. There's nothing fearful. It's just how do we respond? How do we take care of ourselves? How do we mature? How do we evolve? How do we grow? How do we adapt? How do we change as individuals and as humanity? As different races, as different cultures. What are we going to do? Anyway, I thought I'd just bring it up for conversation. Yeah. Let's have a look. Yeah. So that was my little thing I just wanted to share with people. Let's have a look. Okay, I'm going to go back, check in with you guys, because I have to go and refuel. I have to go do some refueling here and check the knobs and the dials and the buttons so we can keep rolling for a while. Let's have a look. How is everybody? Oh, Brittany. Very good point. Hey everybody, can you see that on the screen? Brittany has a very good point. I understand. I also do not see fear as negative. It is to be embraced. Embrace your fear. Bring it on. That's fabulous, Brittany. That's good, Brittany. You've sparked some very interesting conversation. Thank you. Thank you. Embrace the fear. Embrace your fear. Yeah. Face it. What exactly is wrong? What exactly is frightening? What are you going to do about it? Is it in the imagination? Is it from conditioning? Is it a genuine fear? Some people say the thing fear is false evidence appearing real. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Is it real? Or is it just fear? Okay? Brittany Sanderson, Capricorn. So Brittany, you've probably been feeling a lot of pressure for years now. Brittany, do you happen to know where is the Capricorn energy in your chart? Do you have like a Capricorn sun? What is the degree of the sun? What house is it in? I'm kind of curious now. Sorry, Brittany, you kind of got me curious. You came up with some good points, and you mentioned that you're a Capricorn. I'm just trying. Yeah, that's it, Pat. Feel the fear and face it anyway. Yeah. Huh. Okay, so yeah, so what I was asking, if you happen to know your chart. If you happen to know your chart, Brittany. For example, January 9th, 1990, okay. But I don't know the ascendant. So let me go back to Brittany just for a moment. Capricorn Sun, Gemini Moon, Sag Rising. Aha! Okay. So we have a live one, people. We have a live one. Thank you, Brittany. Watch this. So today's weather, specifically for Brittany Sanderson, sort of looks like this. Sag Rising, which is very similar to the American chart. So watch this. All of a sudden, this is the weather and how it affects Brittany. So I'm putting the Sagittarius Gemini axis over here on the horizon. And you've got a Gemini moon. So it's very possible, like on a very simplified, whole sign chart, you might have the sun in the second house, for example. And if it says you have a Gemini moon, you might have the Gemini moon over here in the seventh house. So there's no question about it. You are being very lit up right now. Brittany, you have some aspects in your own chart that are being lit up by the weather today. This is the weather, astrological weather today, in terms of a tarot illumination astrodoodle. And I've put you here on the horizon, there on the descendant, Sun and Capricorn over here. So you have a lot of emphasis over here in your chart. A lot of emphasis over here in your chart right now. A lot of pressure over here in your chart right now. What does that look like? Who knows, but we could talk about it another time. Yeah. So, Brittany, you're under, I would say you're under a lot of pressure, but perhaps in a good way. You might be one of the people who's actually, you might have a natural grasp of everything that we're talking about here. I think you said you're born in 1990. So what does that make you? What, 31? Is that 31? Okay, so you've been around the block, okay? It's like a micro forecast, okay? So there's a lot of emphasis here, a lot of pressure here on you, Brittany, a lot of pressure here, and there's going to be a lot of pressure over here in your 7th house, okay? Soon, sorry, in your 8th house of joint finances. So, for example, for you, Brittany, the new moon Cancer eclipse is going to be happening over here, opposing your sun. And it could be something to do with the financial axis, the issue of jobs and money, career, most especially jobs and money. What are you doing with your natural talents and gifts? What does that look like? How is that being reciprocated? Are you being valued properly? Are you saving enough money? Are you learning about, finances in terms of the large-scale implications of money and what it means? Things like that. Anyway, let's leave it. I was just, tantalizing Brittany there with a little glimpse into her own chart. Okay, I'm going to leave it now. Yeah. Good. That's a good way to describe it. Hold on. That's a good way to describe it. Like, you feel like you are growing and aging with everything that's happening in the world. That's good. To me, I would interpret that as you are making a very good job of interpreting and managing the energy of the planets, okay? So you could call it energy management. If you think of your physical body as a transceiver, you are constantly transmitting and receiving energy. You're constantly receiving and transmitting energy. Your whole body is a complete biosphere of energy. That is energy coming in, energy going out. And you are the boss of that thing. It sounds to me from your notes that you're kind of, you're doing a pretty good job as best you can in terms of energy management, being the boss of your ship, That's very cool. For other people, they're having a very hard time. Some people are having an extremely hard time. Yeah, it sounds like you've already come out the other side. Thank you, Star Girl. Hey, I'm going to wrap it up, people. It's been a pleasure. I'm a bit burned out. Well, I'm not burned out. It's just that we got stuff to do, okay? So, prepare to descend, everybody. I got to go check the landing gear. Give me a second. I got to check the landing gear. I'll be right back. I got to go down into the hold here. Give me a second. Oh, boy. All right, so I'm glad we did that. The landing gear is in place. So everybody get your oxygen masks, okay? It could be a little bit bumpy. Okay, sometimes the stratosphere gets very, very shaky. Right now I'm orbiting at around 27,000 miles an hour. Yeah, and I have to take it down to, eventually 20, 15, 10,000. That's still very fast. And then when I get back through the stratosphere, oh my God, it's going to get ugly. It's going to get really hot. And eventually I'm going to crash in the Pacific Ocean. Okay, see you guys. It's been fantastic. I have to basically prepare the ship and get rolling. I like to put on music to help me get through this, okay? I wish you the best, everybody. Here we go. Preparing for descent now.